Hi, Dr. Nikita Vizniak here with the amazing,
Dr. Catherine Chung.
and today we are going to be taking you through the paleo diet. And of course, the paleo diet and all the diets that we're talking about in this series are found in our nutrition text, where Dr. Chung is one of our major contributors to it. Evidence-informed nutrition, 3 easy steps to feeling better. You can do it.
We
We
can
can
help.
help. And we're going to be eating for optimal health here. So, paleo diet. I would be looking my way through here. We've already done all of these. Paleo diet on page 90. Clicking ahead, Shazam. All right, Dr. Chung, it is the Middle Ages or earlier. We're out there
Hmm.
running around scared of everything. Saber-toothed cats are trying to get us, bears, you name it. Other human tribes are trying to get you. Tell me about the
Yeah.
paleo diet.
This is pretty much a balance between protein, carbs, and a little bit higher on the fats, essentially. And the reason for that is because when you're looking at that hunter-gatherer type of or the Paleolithic, I guess, time, they didn't farm that much, and a lot of the times is they ate a lot of animal proteins, which had a lot of fats in it, like very natural, healthy animal fats, and that's what you'll see a lot in this diet as well when you're looking at that 40%. I like to call the paleo diet the pre-keto diet, to be honest.
Nice.
It's like the pay that you like if you're not sure you want to start with the keto diet, but you're like, oh, I'm a little scared with that 5 to 10% carbohydrates. I'm like, start the paleo diet. You're like halfway there. Do that for a
Mhm.
little bit, transitions to the keto after.
I think there's a couple of things that people have to realize if this was truly a Paleolithic times. So, number one, if you wanted eggs, for example, you would have had to have climbed a tree or probably 3 or 4 trees to look for a bird's nest where you would have found eggs. So, heavily induced exercise to get these nutrients. Number two would have been a lot of the meats and things you are eating those things raw. Like they aren't cooked or anything like that. The animal would have been killed and it is raw meat that you are actually eating with that. And your chance of infection, it wouldn't be terrible, but it would be higher than it is right now. The next thing is there's actually some good research that talks about people, the way that our jaws are meant. There's no malalignment in the teeth when you look at older skeletons for pre-human history, up until the last about 500 years when our diet started to change to softer foods. So eating these harder foods and pulling on your jaw and working harder makes the muscles around the jaw stronger and helps the teeth come out straighter and better oriented. So there's a lot of benefits to a true paleo diet, but we'll get into this even more as we discuss the diet itself. But one of the key things to get is it's not really true paleo what a lot of people wind up doing here. We do our best, but the meats and the things we eat and what we have to do to get those nutrients are substantially different than you would have done in the Paleolithic or Stone Ages and different things like that.
Well, and also, when when you've been born in that Paleolithic environment, your microbiome, your enzymes, like the
Yes.
actual bacteria that you have in your gut is going to be way different than what we are now, right? So I don't think we could ever truly, unless, you go through some sickness, I don't think you truly do a pure paleo diet, like a true one, just
Hmm.
because our microbiome could not handle that. That's kind of like me going like to India and eating street food, or like going to Mexico and just eating very locally. Their microbiome and the bacteria in
Very
their
good point.
gut are just so different, right? That
Yeah.
you will get sick first, but eating more locally before you adapt to it.
Hmm.
So just I want to bring that up as a way to be like, it's going to be different, and you just have to give your body time to adapt
Nice.
to
Yeah. Really good
adapt to
point.
these things. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. All right. So, what are my paleo approved foods? They'll have the sticker on them and says paleo approved. What am I looking at here?
So pretty much you're looking at like non-starchy veg. You're gonna lean on a lot of the nuts and seeds as a and oils as a place for those fats. And you're looking at lean meat. So looking at wild and grass-fed animals essentially. And the wide variety of animals, the better.
Hmm.
And you want it to be wild because I mean, Paleolithically, they had to hunt for their foods. Like they're all like you can just like go to a grocery store and buy it,
Yeah.
right?
And
So
we should let's have a little discussion around this because a
yeah,
lot of people aren't
yeah.
clear on this. So
Hmm.
what I've done, we have a little mini farm I've got with my kids and stuff, and we wind up raising our own birds. So we have done meat birds before as chicken. So most people in North America, they'll have chicken from the stores, and what'll happen with it is different consistency and quality than a natural or free range bird. Most of these animals that you'll get in a store or wherever, Kentucky Fried Chicken or wherever you're getting your animals from, it's going to be raised in a little cage, probably not going to be free range. So when we grew meat birds, so people are clear on this, that meat bird goes from a chick that is just hatched to harvesting in 40 days, which is ultra fast growth. But what we did for our broilers is we let them run out in the yard and everything. And the meat was totally different. Like when you went to pull on it, it was stringy. It had better fascial content, collagen content into it. It tasted way different. And I've heard this also from people from other countries. They come over here to North America and they're like, there's something wrong with your chicken. Like it's got different consistency. It falls funny. It's like it doesn't taste quite right. Like things like that, right? Dr. Chung, you had a good point that you made on this too.
Yeah, totally. I mean, even when I go to my local grocery store, like my local Asian grocery store, so here at BT&T, no sponsorship. Um, in the frozen section, they have these wild black chickens, and they're very lean. You can see in their frozen section, they're frozen because people don't eat them very often, so they gotta, but they're way leaner. They're smaller birds, but when you
Hmm.
cook them in the soup, and I actually make it into a medicinal soup, even its ability to handle that long cook time and that heat, it doesn't break apart so easily,
Yes.
and it's tough, right? And
Yeah.
like it still has that chewiness. And when we use regular chickens that I would buy at the grocery store, I don't know what it is. It's like it doesn't taste as chickeny,
Hmm.
and it breaks down so much easier. Like I can just like poke it, and like it just disintegrates
Yes.
in
Yeah.
the bowl itself, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that even goes even more forward because chickens are so part of a North American lifestyle and food sources right here, even into eggs too. Like if you have a free range egg, there's studies that show a consumer farmed egg is going to have different nutrient content, different colored yolk, different taste than a free range egg that you're getting from a chicken that's out there eating the bugs and insects and grasses and all kinds of different things that are out in the field, right? So all of that makes a difference right here. So when you're thinking paleo, try and get as natural sourced as possible for all of these, unprocessed and natural source as possible for all of these foods right here that we're talking about. Okay,
Mhm.
foods to avoid. What am I going to stay away from, Dr. Chung?
Pretty much everything that is opposite of what you said, which is not natural and highly processed. So that's why
Hmm.
you see what wheat, barley, rye, those are naturally gluten grains, but they're also going to be highly processed. Dairy, highly processed, and then just the refined sugar, potatoes, processed foods again. So everything opposite of what you said.
Yeah, and let's be clear on that. This refined sugar did not exist in the Paleolithic period. If
Yeah.
you were lucky and you were brave enough, maybe you took on a beehive or something like that. We actually do our own honeybees as well on the side. But also, maybe if you were lucky, you found a sugar beet or something else where you could potentially have a slightly higher sugar content. But again, pretty rare in the Paleolithic world, which is one of the reasons why sugar is so addictive for people because we're evolutionarily evolved over thousands of years to seek that sugar out and have it as a high nutrient source wherever you could find it, right?
Yeah,
Maybe some
exactly.
berries or something too, you would find it seasonally as well. All right, what are the therapeutic uses for this wonderful diet right here?
Well, when you think about it, it's going to be lower carbs, but even the carbs that you eat is going to be very low in sugar, right? So when we
Mm-hmm.
looked at refined sugar, those grains, all those things are highly processed. So the less processed, the more complex they are. The more complex they are, they're not going to bring or be broken down into sugar as easily. So
Mm-hmm.
then that's where you'll see the positive effects on these conditions: type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular risk, weight loss. All of those things are reduced or improved because of a higher quality protein and fat and a low sugar or simple sugar diet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So that's the key thing is avoiding those refined carbohydrates is really what you're getting out of this diet, right? What are some risks associated with a paleo diet?
A lot of the risk is really based on whether or not, or I guess your choices in the proteins that you choose.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're leaning a lot on either non-lean meats, or on red meats, then you're going to have a higher cardiovascular disease risk than someone that's leaning more towards, say, fish,
Mm-hmm.
or chicken, or those white meats instead, right? So again, it goes back to quality of foods,
Mm-hmm.
and that's going to be the biggest risk and impact on the long-term effects of this diet.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, and again, just back to it, like what are you trying to avoid? Refined carbohydrates, dairy, the more processed, like even here's some pastas, the more processed, the worse it actually is for you, right? And I like what you said at the very start there too. You said this is like a pre-keto diet right here, something that you could try as an initial stage, because here we can see this looks very Mediterranean to me, what you're seeing right here
Mhm.
at the very start. Then you're going into some nuts and maybe some other sources here. And then, of course, exactly what you said. The research is clear on this. It is the red meats, especially if they are not natural sourced red meats, that have higher cancer risks and everything else that we see, cardiovascular risks that we see associated with this.
Yep.
Any closing thoughts on the paleo diet for us, Dr. Chung?
I think if you want to try, I'm not the biggest fan of the paleo diet. I'm not, but like I talk my patients through it. Like we try and find the balance as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I find if you want to make the paleo or the keto or any of these diets really as successful as possible, it just takes a lot of planning and looking into where you're going to be sourcing a lot of these foods, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my closing thoughts would be make sure that you really do your homework or talk to someone first before you dive into these because they can go very processed and very unhealthy and dangerous very quickly.
Yeah, excellent. And of course, like as always, you can do it, we can help. That's the whole nature of the entire booklet that we created right there. We are here as coaches and resources for you to use. Thank you so much, Dr. Chung, for your time on this. As always, it has been a pleasure to have your knowledge base and wisdom help us understand these a little bit better. And we'll see you in the next video.
Thank you for having me.
All
Bye.
right, bye.